All right, everybody. That is Good Friend Trey. That is Tom Brolley. This is Best Bets here at Fantasy Points. Good Friend Trey, what are we looking at here?
I got a couple more plays here. I know I was long-winded.
Oh, wait a minute. Holy.
Joe's running me off the show.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
He bet those Barner props and he's gone.
This is in my contract. I get my full segment here, you know. I can't be run off like this. I got more plays.
I completely messed this up, yeah.
You're probably doing the folks a favor by
He's probably trying to save them a little bit of money.
I am on a bit of a skid, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Reminder that the early bird special is up at fantasypoints.com. That is active only through Super Bowl Sunday. It is the lowest rate you're going to get at Fantasy Points for a Fantasy Pro or Fantasy Bundle subscription. If you order it at the early bird rate, you will get all of our in-season betting content added on. It's going to be a separate package next fall, but if you order now at the early bird rate, just to kind of grandfather you in, you're going to get all of our betting content and access to our betting Discord at Fantasy Points. You will be glad you did. All right, Tom, let's go to the conference championship games, and I'm going to use DraftKings Sportsbook for these odds, but you can tell me where the best number is across the board. If not, we're going to start with the AFC Championship game. New England -5.5 at Denver, 42.5 the total. Tom, and obviously the big news, of course, is Jarrett Stidham. Now, 5.5, that does feel like a little bit to me.
I mean, a little premium to get that Patriots line here. Doesn't it feel that way, Joe?
I certainly believe so. And here's the thing. I think if this was 6, everybody and their grandmother would be. I
don't know about everybody.
This
definitely is going to be one of those like sharp versus the public here.
Yeah,
every sharp in the world, and I agree with it. This is just way too big of a point adjustment. It looked like Denver was going to be 1.5 point favorites if New England had won, and Denver was at full strength. And now we see this line 5.5, as you said, at DraftKings, 4.5 in some other spots, but a 7-point line movement from Bo Nix to Jarrett Stidham. That's an overreaction to me. We've been talking all season that Bo Nix just kind of hasn't lived up to the development we were hoping to see in a second season. Pretty promising rookie year, and but now we're heading into the AFC Championship, and now he's getting priced like he's a Josh Allen, who we talked about, Patrick Mahomes, like one of these elite tier quarterbacks, and I think a pretty average backup quarterback, but 7 points just seems like a little too much for me. I have it closer to 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a backup quarterback who the Denver Broncos prioritized bringing back. They signed him, to bring him back. And this is a guy who, if you'll remember, last year when they drafted Bo Nix, there was the talk, hey, if Bo Nix isn't ready, well, Sean Payton feels very comfortable with Jarrett Stidham as a potential starter. Obviously, they deemed Bo Nix was ready. I think Bo Nix has proven, whatever you think of Bo Nix and whether he's a top 10, top 20, whatever quarterback, he's obviously proven he's an NFL starter to this point. But Jarrett Stidham making 2 starts under Sean Payton when they benched Russell Wilson a couple years ago, Tom, and he acquitted himself well. And he acquitted himself well enough that there was the talk that he could enter 2024 as kind of the bridge starter before they went over to Bo Nix. These were the numbers in those games. Now, look, Tom, he wasn't playing great competition.
It was the Chargers with Easton Stick, so, it wasn't like you're playing Justin Herbert, and I believe it was the Raiders with Aiden O'Connell. In the season finale there.
But 40 of 66, that's 61% essentially, 496 yards, a couple of touchdowns and a pick, with a receiving group that let's just say not the best in the world. Cortland Sutton, I believe, ran just 15 routes over those 2 games because of injury. Jerry Jeudy ran the most routes, but no, I want you to guess who ran the second most routes for the Denver Broncos in those 2 starts for Jarrett Stidham.
2023.
If you get this, I'm going to jump
little
through
Jordan
the screen.
Humphrey. I don't know.
He was third.
Oh, darn. Who was it? Marquez Callaway.
Brandon Johnson.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Brandon. That's right. He did have a little run at the end of that season.
So
I was trying to go through the Rolodex of Sean Payton receivers that have
Devery
made
Henderson.
the transition. Yeah, exactly.
Robert Meacham was there for a little. Remember Lance Moore? He was a slot
absolutely.
master for a while.
He was a slot machine. But Brandon Johnson, that's probably a name we haven't heard since 2023 then, I guess.
So as annoying as Sean Payton's receiving group is, now you've got Sutton. You've got Mims. You still have little Jordan Humphrey.
Yes.
Troy Franklin. Evan Ingram's there. I know he hasn't done a whole lot of late, but it's a little bit better. I've also here, when I'm talking from a betting perspective, hard for me not to notice that virtually 1/3 of Jarrett Stidham's targets were directed at running backs. Now, J.K. Dobbins, I'm guessing the books are waiting for his status to put out some rushing and receiving lines for running backs. But I might be dabbling in some R.J. Harvey receiving overs here, especially considering New England's run defense is nasty. And if Denver is going to try to create offense out of their backfield with their quarterback, Tom, I would think screen passes, passes to the flat might be in the cards. But Jarrett Stidham, this is all getting to the point where, man, he's shown competence. And like you said, I think this is 7 because he hasn't thrown a pass in the last 2 years. Yeah. But he was a player that they valued enough to keep around. I've got money on the Broncos plus 5.5, Tom.
Yeah, I have no qualms with that. I do like getting that 5.5. I don't think it's going to get to 6. I think as soon as it gets to 6, no. We'll see action back to 5.5. I think 5.5 is the ceiling, but it could bounce between 4.5, 5.5. So if you're on that Broncos side, make sure you get that 5.5. Not that 5 is a very key number, but a little bit better than 4.5. But Stidham, man, he has played well in the preseason. He was one of the best preseason quarterbacks, threw for 4 touchdowns on 38 attempts, 376 yards on those attempts too. So basically 10 yards an attempt. So looked really sharp in the preseason. But as you said, Joe, he hasn't been around here. I agree with that R.J. Harvey sentiment. It looks like the initial numbers, MGM is the only one that has a number out right now. All the other books are kind of waiting, but 17.5, 18.5 receiving yards. It is a little on the higher side, but we do have him projected for about 23 or 24 yards. So I'm kind of with you on that one. That was definitely one of the angles I'm looking at. J.K. Dobbins, Joe, we don't think he has any chance of playing. 10% maybe. Yeah. It seems like too quick of a turnaround with that fracture in his foot. That was back in week 10 or week 11. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. I think this might be more of like the Fred Warner situation last week. Get him out in the practice field. If we do make it to the Super Bowl, maybe he could play. But maybe he gives you a little bit of an emotional lift. Just seeing J.K. Dobbins back out in the practice field.
So let's continue to talk about this game, Tom, with New England. First of all, when I see a quarterback shit his pants on national television the way C.J. Stroud did,
I thought you were going to say Drake May, because he's at least sharding the last couple of weeks.
well, first of all, great throw and the catch to Kayshon Boutte.
Yes,
but I think in today's reaction culture, and I think it was justified, by the way. C.J. Stroud, getting a lot of the criticism. He was, that is as bad a playoff game as I've seen a quarterback play in, I don't know how long. It was.
The Jake Delhomme, is that the full Delhomme? As,
the full Delhomme.
Bill Simmons would say.
Yeah, the 5 interceptions.
He didn't go the full Delhomme, but it was pretty darn close. And then if you look at the way he played against Pittsburgh too, that was the only reason the Steelers were still kind of in that game until the fourth quarter. It was 7-6 until the floodgates opened up. Yeah. So C.J. Stroud, really rough performances the last 2 weeks.
But do you give New England's defense some credit? And I think that's the question I was asking, because you always look at the reactionary culture and it's on the quarterback. It's on the quarterback. Oh, they got to bench. And by the way, I think they should have benched him. I don't envy D'Amico Ryans for having to make that call, but I think they should have benched the guy for a competent backup in Davis Mills. But, let's go over to the New England side now, Tom, because I feel like people aren't giving them maybe the credit the defense deserves here. But on offense, Drake May might be the NFL MVP. He wasn't the greatest in his divisional round game, but
Made the throws. He made some big ones. They had 3 drives where they really moved the ball, and hey, they scored touchdowns on those drives. And at the end of the day, if you can do that again this week, you're probably gonna beat the Broncos. If you can get to that 21-point mark, that will be probably enough here with the total sitting right around 42 points.
Well, the assumption that I had that competent quarterback play, we'd be talking about the Houston Texans in the AFC Championship game right now. And that's why I'm on the Broncos, but there's no guarantee Jarrett Stidham will provide that. Now, from a betting perspective, Tom, what has stood out to you in this game that you have liked from a point spread total or a player prop angle?
Yeah, I'm with you with Denver plus 5.5. Even if it does settle in at 4.5, I kind of like that one. I am betting Demario Douglas over 15.5 yards is the number, is what I saw. It's not widely available out there just yet. It's more just Bet365 and BetMGM. So I am anticipating more books opening it up here. But they're kind of waiting on that Mac Hollins news here. We got a little bit of piece of news here on a Wednesday. Mike Vrabel said he wouldn't be practicing on Wednesday. So they didn't open his practice window on, he's been on the IR for an abdomen injury. And there was some belief in the Patriots locker room that he would be back and kind of ready to contribute. So the fact that his practice window wasn't opened on a Wednesday and he's on the IR, I would think that that's probably an indication that he is not going to play in the AFC Championship. As a guy that's been out that long, probably needs to get at least 3 practices in, even if they're limited practices. So I think that's going to clear the way for Demario Douglas to run a bunch of routes again. He was up to like 48% of the routes last week. And we saw him with the big touchdown to open the game. I actually was on Demario Douglas the week before, and he didn't come through. And of course, he scores the first touchdown of the game. And I think I think Chris even gave out a touchdown prop for him in the wild card round. So, but he is still a critical piece here, and he's kind of a man beater for Drake May and this Patriots offense. And we know the Broncos want to play man defense at one of the highest rates. They like to put their top corners, Patrick Surtain, probably going to be locking up with Kayshon Boutte or Stephon Diggs. And Demario Douglas is going to get some of those easier matchups in the slot. So looking for him to get in that 40 to 50% route share again. He'll have some of the easier matchups. He excels against man coverage. So I'm looking for him to go up over 15.5 is the number that I saw this afternoon. So hopefully we get more of the books opening them up. Maybe by today here on Thursday in the afternoon. If Mac Hollins doesn't practice again, I would think that is basically a guarantee that he is not going to play. Right now it's probably about 95% chance that he doesn't play, but the books are waiting here. Just with 2 games too, they don't want to leave themselves wide open for anybody to make a little bit of money off of them. So they're waiting here, but we're going to take Demario Douglas over his receiving yards.
All right, you're seeing a screenshot of our Fantasy Points Discord. That's just a small glimpse of what you get. Obviously, the bet volume is down when there's only a couple of games left, but don't worry, we're going to be throwing some Super Bowl absolute ass-tastic bets in there. It's going to be fantastic. Tom, I'll always never forget going back to Super Bowl 50, 10 years ago at this point, you and I hitting Fozzie Whitaker over like 6.5 receiving yards, and we're going nuts at the Super Bowl party.
And that's probably what started us down this path of gambling and player props and everything. It was Fozzie Whitaker against the Carolina Panthers against the Broncos, and that
might have been the only Panthers over to hit in that game. That was a disaster of a football game for the Carolina Panthers. All right, T-Bro, let's move to the NFC Championship game. The Los Angeles Rams travel to Seattle. I am aware I could get old takes exposed on this, but to me, this feels like the 80s and like the early 90s when the NFC Championship game was the de facto Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. When all right,
I kind of feel that way too.
Which team is going to win the NFC championship and to get the right to absolutely debacle the AFC champion in the Super Bowl? I was wondering what it would take in this day and age for a team to be favored by 10 or more points in the Super Bowl, and I think we might have the scenario here. If one of these two teams, the Rams or the Seahawks, blows out the other, and somehow the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham wins the AFC Championship, I wonder if we could see some flirtation with double digits. I still don't know if it's going to happen. The Patriots obviously have lost to a backup quarterback in the Super Bowl, but man, if one of these Rams or Seahawks team, and I guess because they're favored, most people would say the Seahawks, looks dominant in the NFC Championship, and Jarrett Stidham squeaks by the Patriots, I could see that being a huge line, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
We do have hypothetical lines, Joe. They have set them here. It's before the conference championship games. Seattle would be 9.5-point favorites right now.
So I wasn't too far off.
No, it was very close here, and the Rams would be 8.5-point favorites. Obviously, if Jarrett Stidham goes out, looks good. Maybe that would ease some of these concerns about him. Maybe I could see this. There's a lot of variation where this line could be if the Broncos end up winning. Maybe it is a bit of a snoozer and they pull one out in the last second and Seattle looks dominant. Very easily could close 10.5 points. If Stidham looks good, maybe it's 6.5.
By the way,
but good call on that one. It's right around that double-digit mark.
If Jarrett Stidham looks good, he's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess he is a free agent again because they did give him that 2 years and $12 million right before they signed drafted Bo Nix. So he was kind of the backup plan if they didn't get a quarterback, and obviously they did. And now he gets it's going to be interesting, Joe, because obviously these are the highest stakes here in a championship game, and if he plays well, a lot of people.
He's under contract for next year. Stidham is, but they would save money if they cut or trade him. If he plays well, they're not going to cut him, but they could definitely get a pick for him. But nonetheless, Tom, let's talk NFC Championship game. Maybe the de facto Super Bowl. Seattle 2.5, 46.5 is the total. Tom, I know earlier in the week for our subscribers, you took the Rams getting the full field goal. Do you see that moving back and forth, or are we kind of locked in at 2.5 now?
I think we'll see some. There is a 3 out there right now. I gave it out at the score bet, the formerly the ESPN bet. It's sitting at -120 if you want to pay a little bit extra to get the Rams at +3. I think it's going to be one of those, though. It's just bouncing between 2.5 and 3. It's one of those 2.7 lines. So if you do want some Rams, obviously it's out there a little bit. If you have multiple sports books, you might have to pay a -120 to get the +3, but I would definitely do that if I was backing the Rams this week. We've seen 2 very close games between these teams. Just 1 point difference over the course of their 2 matchups, and 1 yard difference. Rams have outgained the Seahawks by 1 yard so far in their 2 matchups. So 2 very evenly matched teams. We saw this game, what was that, back in week 16 on a Thursday night. That game, I believe, I kind of mix it up. The Rams ended up, Seattle ended up closing at -1.5, but the Rams were favorites early in the week for that game. So obviously a bit of line movement since week 16. Seahawks win that game, and now they've been dominant in 2 straight games against the 49ers. So we've seen that line creep up to 2.5 here. I still think the Rams are right on the heels of the Seahawks. I have them a half a point difference. I do have Seattle ahead of Los Angeles, but I feel like this line is just a smidge too high here. I think we should be back in that 1.5 point range. So I did take the Rams +3, laying a little extra juice at -120.
Let's get some propage for this game, Tom. We got it up there on the screen. I think you can read it yourself, but why don't you give your rationale?
So, yeah, I have a couple of props here. I went with Kyren Williams over 12.5 receiving yards. That's not a whole lot of analysis here, but, Seattle's been, really dominant against, outside receivers and in the secondary. They're really tough to throw on. So you have to look for alternative ways here. So I do have Kyren Williams, and I do have Colby Parkinson over 21.5 receiving yards too. So a pair of props here, trying to pick on these linebackers and safeties and just staying away from the cornerback play from the Seahawks. But Kyren Williams did see a little bit of an uptick in routes, and he's kind of the guy over Blake Corum in those type of situations. So if there is a scenario where they're trailing in this game as 3-point underdogs, he could see some checkdowns and some opportunities in the passing game. And he's actually gotten to this number of 12.5 up over it 6 times in his last 7 games. Had 15 yards against Seattle back in week 16. So Seattle's given up the 6th most receiving yards per game to the position. So looking for him to be involved as a receiver, especially if Puka gets limited a little bit or Davante Adams is unable to do anything. We got to go to some of these secondary options. So looking at Kyren Williams. Parkinson, I feel a little bit better about him over Terrence Ferguson and Tyler Higbee. He's been pretty darn consistent. 32 yards or more in 6 of his last 7 games. The one down game, though, Joe, you remember it, against these Seahawks.
Sure
Everybody, I think everybody, us included, we were talking to Theo that week on the Waiver Wire podcast. We were all touting Colby Parkinson in that game, and he ended up coming up a little bit flat. I think he had 2 for 21. But this is still a good matchup for him. He's running the most routes at the position for Los Angeles, and I do think we're going to see them go back to more 3 tight ends this week. They used a lot of 3 wide receivers against Chicago, and it was not effective. But in that Week 16 game, a lot of 3 tight end sets, and it works. So I think they're going to go back to it a little bit, get him out in the field a little bit more, and I think he's going to be a factor this week. So hopefully he doesn't have a Week 16 like stinker that he did a couple of weeks ago. But give me Kyren Williams and Colby Parkinson up over their receiving yards.
All right, T-Bro, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to be welcoming in Good Friend Trey, who certainly has a sloppy play for the championship round. All right, Good Friend Trey, though, we got to get to the slop, right? I mean, look, when the games are, the slate is this short, not as big as the Super Bowl, but man, they put out some of the nastiest props you can imagine for these games. And I think you're going to the well here with some of your tight end, deep tight end dive.
So we're going to start here with the A.J. Barner play you saw on screen. My play of the week is going to be the +4 receptions there, okay? I got pulled up here on the data suite. The 2 games the Seahawks have played against the Rams, obviously one of those was a 10-catch game for A.J. Barner, but the other being a 4-catch game. So, for my play of the week, I am going to lean a little bit into A.J. Barner being involved in catching some passes. So, I like the tight ends, and I think he may be a little more frisky or liable to score a touchdown, but they've got that priced in pretty well. So I'm taking A.J. Barner 4+ catches.
You're a Barner guy. I feel like you went to the well because this was a Thursday night game back in Week 16. I feel like you were on Barner that week, so you're his guy here.
He is very good. And especially when I'm normally betting him, it's for touchdowns, and I like the equity of him being, the tush-push quarterback in some of those goal line situations. He's really good, and I'm actually a fan of Elijah Arroyo. I saw him at the Senior Bowl last year. I thought he was one of the more impressive players at the Senior Bowl, and Barner has made him basically irrelevant. So I think he's kind of a forgotten-about guy and one of these emerging tight ends. I don't want to, skip ahead and ruin the surprise here, but my disgusting slop ladder of the week, I'm going to take Barner up all the way to 8 receptions. So we're going to put a quarter of a unit on each leg, 5 receptions, 6 receptions, 7 receptions, and 8 receptions, plus 2,000 for A.J. Barner. I think, JSN's going to be the focus, and I think this guy, I think he's got a little magic. I think he's the real deal. I think this is a real legit, someday maybe, top 7, top 5, maybe even tight end down the road. I like what I see at A.J. Barner.
I just hope they're forced to throw it enough this week. They've been, stifled. They went up against the 49ers the last 2 times, and Darnold has not forced them to throw at all. So need a little bit of help from the Rams. Maybe Darnold needs to make a couple of mistakes too. Maybe that will push them to throw it a little bit more in the second half if they're chasing a little bit. So, but I don't mind it at all. I was looking at his props. The Arroyo stuff did concern me a little bit. I do think he could be back in the mix this week. He wasn't quite ready to play last week, but it's a rookie who hasn't played for a long time. I don't think he's going to take too much away from A.J. Barner.
And I should say, a lot of the thought process around this play here is that I don't know if I'm just a hater or when I am a hater, but it just feels like I just don't believe in the Seahawks, and I don't really believe in the Patriots, and I definitely don't believe in the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham. The only team I really actually believe in that feels like a real championship team is the Los Angeles Rams. So I am expecting
the team that hasn't covered the first two postseason games, and they're into the championship game. I don't think it's happened very often where a team doesn't cover and has won the first two games and is still alive in the championship round.
It's certainly possible that all four teams are fraudulent. There are no good teams anymore, or it's possible.
I think that's been my theory the entire postseason. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been involved. Josh Allen on this weak Bills team. The Ravens couldn't do anything. It just felt like a year where there were no good teams here, and this is the result here. Maybe Seattle, I think, has maybe built the best case that they might be a dominant team, but we'll see if they can prove it here against the Rams.
I should also mention, I guess it is possible that I just have the wrong read, which, never has occurred on this program ever, especially not last week. So I guess that is also a possibility.
All right, everybody. That is Good Friend Trey. That is Tom Brolley. This is Best Bets here at Fantasy Points. Good Friend Trey, what are we looking at here?
I got a couple more plays here. I know I was long-winded.
Oh, wait a minute. Holy.
Joe's running me off the show.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
He bet those Barner props and he's gone.
This is in my contract. I get my full segment here. I can't be run off like this. I got more plays.
Oh, so what are you looking at? You sticking with this Seattle game?
I completely messed this up.
You're totally fine. You're probably doing the folks a favor by.
He's probably trying to save them a little bit of money.
I am on a bit of a skid, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Quickly, I've got Colby Parkinson anytime touchdown score. I thought he had the most equity of the normal guys that are in the mix, the Pukas, the Adams, the regular starters here to score with the best line. Those guys, you're not getting much action with those lines here. And then this is kind of a long shot too. This normally would be more like a slot play. I guess I'm making it extra sloppy for you. I love dropping that Billy Madison line there. But Davante Adams, most receiving yards in the conference championship games, plus 1,000. He only played one of the games against the Seahawks. He did not suit up for that last game. But when he did play in that first game against the Seahawks, he damn near played every snap of the game. Out there for 49 to 50 snaps, and he that led the entire team. So Puka's going to be a focus.
So 8 targets too.
Right.
So it turned into one catch though,
right,
for a 1-yard touchdown.
So
but he was out there a lot.
I'm going to bet on Davante Adams being the guy because more often than not, Davante Adams has been the guy in his career. Of course, Puka is maybe the guy in the NFL right now. But the playoffs, everything tightens up a little bit, and as good as Puka is, and I may be his number one fan at this point, I have him everywhere, 100% Puka this season. He's my guy. There's maybe not another wide receiver in the NFL I trust more than Davante Adams, especially in a moment as big as a conference championship game. So give me Davante Adams to lead the conference championship slate in receiving yards.
All right, now we're going to wrap it up here at Best Bets.
There's no more secret plays out there. All right.
No, thank God.
Okay, good.
Remember to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you're listening to this, go to Fantasy Points and click on the Fantasy Points YouTube, like our little logo, and you'll get all of our channels in there, which includes our Dynasty channel. And then we also have a DFS channel coming up, which obviously isn't going to be terribly active at this point, but we have all of those logos there. We've just gotten these channels off the ground. We would really appreciate subscribers, and so everybody can enjoy our content, dislike our content, whatever, rag on us, but we want to build a following here. Go to that Fantasy Points Betting YouTube channel and remember to subscribe. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll talk to you next week to preview Super Bowl 60.